I was saying Yasha, but Rico from Street Scores, and we have a lot to talk about today, especially since I've been so busy the past couple of days. It's time to pretty much consolidate a lot of the things that I should have done in several videos all in one. Most notably, we got to do a quick Washington versus the Patriots preview. I'm gonna give y'all a few stats that are pretty interesting and why the Commanders probably have a better chance at winning this game than a lot of people think. Even though, do we even actually want to win the game? Also, I'm gonna give y'all a big time injury report on everything that's going on, who's playing, who's not. Also, we had a few players elevated from the practice squad, which takes me to my next point. Is evaluating our players, especially the younger guys, our top priority remaining for this season, or are we still trying to win as much as we can? Rivera even spoke on that as well. Also, I'm gonna give y'all a lot more thoughts on the Washington Commanders trades, because again, every video I've done on the trade so far were just pure live reactions to everything that was happening. And I was also up busy setting up Halloween stuff, so I was all over the place. I actually couldn't just sit down and process what was going on and find stats and everything like that like I normally do. So now I'm gonna give y'all a few more thoughts as far as that goes. I know we're ready to move on, but stay tuned for that as well. And then I have a few videos I'm working on. It'll probably come out after this upcoming game against the Patriots, but I'm working on a video why we should all love Eugene Shin, the guy that we hired to come in and be our lead analytics guy, and also why Sam Howell should be our quarterback in the future and why we should focus on building around him and build up the offense line and things like that rather than drafting a top quarterback. Those are two videos I'm bringing stats and everything, history, all kinds of stuff, so stay tuned for those videos, of course. But today we're focused on mostly this Washington Commanders versus Patriots preview. But before we dive into all of that, make sure you stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned for all of the content I've already given you a preview of. Again, working on a why you should love Eugene Shin, and also why we should build around Sam Howell rather than drafting another franchise quarterback. And make sure you stay tuned because I will be live streaming this upcoming Patriots game, of course, like I always do, man. I live stream all 4 quarters. The game starts at 1 p.m. I'm gonna start streaming at like 12:45, and stick with me throughout the entire process. And man, if you want to donate to the channel, because again, YouTube is tripping, make sure you donate to the $ RicoScores Cash App, and also the PayPal William AC at 94@gmail.com if you want to support the channel. And without further ado, man, let's get it.
You tell your family you're gonna be a commander.
All right, so let's start with the Patriots preview because that's probably why a lot of y'all are here. And again, I'm not doing like my super duper deep dives like I normally do. This is more so just an injury update and also a few key stats that are pretty interesting and a few key points that the Commanders could attack if they're trying to win this game. If that's the main priority, then we can focus on that. On the Commander side, Curtis Samuel, the wide receiver, and of course, center, guard, whatever you want to call him, interior offensive lineman, Ricky Strongberg are both out. Curtis Samuel seems more week to week. Ricky Strongberg seems like with him walking around on crutches and stuff, and even the way that he got carted off, I'm like, that looks like a guy that's headed to IR. I'm surprised he's not on IR already. Then you have the safety, Percy Butler. He's questionable. He was limited in practice all the way up until yesterday, as in Friday, when he participated full. And then Logan Thomas, tight end, is full, good to go, not questionable, nothing. Then on the Patriots side, it's chaotic, boy. Calvin Anderson and Devontae Parker are both out. I forgot that's where Devontae Parker went, I'm not gonna lie. And then they just have a load of questionables. All of them were limited in practice yesterday, as in Friday. Christian Barrymore, Jawan Bentley, Pharaoh Brown, Trent Brown, Gavon Gacho, however you pronounce that, Jonathan Jones, Vidarian Lowe, Tyquan Thornton, Josh Uche. I forgot that's where John Uche ended up. And then Dietrich Wise Jr. So they have a laundry list of injuries. We have a lot of injuries too, but a lot of ours just happen to be on IR, where a lot of theirs are actually on the injury report. So we're right now in the injury report, they look like they're way more banged up than us, but I feel like the gap is a little bit closer than what people think. So we have some injuries to deal with. Curtis Samuel is, up until last week, has been our second most consistent, second best receiver, but Jamison Crowder and Jahan Dotson stepped up big time. So if we're trying to win this game against the Patriots, and we're still actually trying to make it to the playoffs, and we're not tanking, we're not doing a full rebuild, which it feels like after the way we traded away our 2 best pass rushers, then I guess, you know, we're going to struggle without that guy. I'm telling you right now, Curtis Samuel's been a big part of our offense, even though it hasn't necessarily felt like it. He's literally been our wide receiver too up until last week. But it's good that the other guy stepped up. Again, especially if we want to win. Now, we're also elevating people from the practice squad to the active roster. So we brought along cornerback Rico Fields, who will probably just play special teams, and Jabril Cox once again. We went through this last week, and I got all excited, and I was hoping he would play linebacker, but I did preface with the fact that he probably will only play special teams, and this week could be the same thing. But hopefully, as far as like Ron Rivera even saying himself, and I've been screaming that we should be doing this already, that we need to be evaluating our young players. So maybe Jabril Cox is actually getting an opportunity to play linebacker, and maybe our top priority is evaluating our players rather than actually winning the game. Ron Rivera hopes to win the game, but I think evaluating our young guys to see what we have before we get into the 2024 season is the best strategy to go with. Again, even Ron Rivera spoke on that, and that may not be his preference, but it just seems like that's what the Commanders may be doing. So hopefully Jabril Cox will actually get a chance to play linebacker and not just on special teams. And then you have Alex Akambulu and center/guard Lolan Laufenberg. They were both elevated from the practice squad as well. So those are 4 younger backup depth guys that may get a chance to play depending on what's going on. I mean, I feel like the offensive line moves are more so backups. I'm hoping Jabril Cox actually plays, and I think Rico Fields is just purely special teams, but we'll see. Also, let's go ahead and get into this preview just real quick. Again, I'm not going to spend too much time on the preview, but the Patriots don't have wide receivers at all, and they have a bad offensive line. So I know Chase Young and Montez Sweat are gone, but if the Patriots kill us on offense, then yeah, it's time to blow up everything. I know they're probably they plan on holding Ron Rivera to the end of the season and then doing like a head coach search after that. I don't think they'll fire him anytime soon. Right now, I think he's just more so a placeholder, like a face of the organization. But I think Josh Harris and those guys have most of the power. As long as Martin Mayhew isn't making any more decisions for us, I'm happy. Ron Rivera, but Martin Mayhew definitely got to go, man. I ain't gonna lie, for my preference. So we'll see how this goes, man. I'm really excited to see what the future of this team holds. What are we prioritizing? Also, the Patriots are 100% perfect in goal-to-goal situations this year on offense. That means even as bad as their offense has been, they score a touchdown every time they're inside the 10. The NFL average is 69.69%. Again, the Patriots are 100%, which is like historically great. Every time they're in a goal-to-goal situation, first and goal, second and goal, whatever, they get a touchdown. Every time when they're inside the 10. That's like ridiculous. So this bend but don't break strategy that Jack Del Rio has, this is the exact antithesis to that. This is the biggest weakness for that, because Jack Del Rio's strategy just always seems to be, that's why we play a lot of off coverage and things like that. We don't blitz as much as people would like. We're basically a bend but don't break defense. You can do whatever you want from the 20 to the 20. We'll give you that. But as long as when we get within that 30-20 goal line situation, we hold you to a field goal. Well, the Patriots, terrible at moving the ball, so Jack Del Rio typically gives an offense that, like, just here, you can have that. That will make that easy for you, basically, it seems like. And that's what the Patriots are bad at. But then the thing that we want to buckle down and be great at, that's the thing that the Patriots are just 100% at. So that the Patriots seem like a match made in hell for us, I guess, to flip it. Not a match made in heaven, but a match made in hell. Like literally exactly what Jack Del Rio wants to do on defense. The Patriots are the perfect counter to that. The perfect counter. So I am worried about that as far as trying to win this game. We'll see how that goes. But also you got to remember that Bill Belichick is a young QB eater. I know typically, like when you look at the stats, it's like rookie quarterbacks that he eats against and like literally shuts them down. But hey, man, Sam Howell is by all means still kind of like a rookie quarterback. He's only started with 9 games. He started 1 game last year, and then now he's been a full-time starter this year, but that hasn't equaled an entire season. He's basically like a redshirt freshman in a way, a redshirt rookie. So maybe the same thing applies from Bill Belichick against him. So I want to see Sam Howell put together back-to-back great games because he has yet to really do that. So I'm interested in seeing that even with Bill Belichick being the young quarterback eater, if Sam Howell can finally go back-to-back great games. So there's a lot of things going on in this matchup, a lot of random viewpoints. I mean, whether it's stats or matchups, are really interesting. Also, the Patriots love to draw up a lot of blitzing, get a lot of pressure on you and stuff like that. They disguise things, they do stunts, they change coverages post snap and things like that. They show you one thing pre snap and then change it post snap and stuff like that. All of that to basically throw off young quarterbacks. That's why he eats against young quarterbacks, because he makes things very complicated. He rushes you. He wants to see if you're poised. He wants to see if you have some veteran poise and leadership to you, and some pre snap and post snap reading and being able to go through your reads, your progressions and things like that. He challenged you to not just be physically gifted, but also mentally prepared. That's why Bill Belichick eats against young quarterbacks. So if not only Sam Howell, but if Eric Bieniemy approached with the same offense they did last week against the Eagles, where it's like regardless of what blitzes you're sending, regardless of what coverages you're disguising, we can eat up against that. And so, we know what Bill Belichick is going to want to do. Are Sam Howell and Eric Bieniemy ready to counter against that and eat up against them? We'll see. Also, shouts out to Sam Howell, because he's been getting a lot of praise, man. JP Finley was talking with Patriots three-time Super Bowl winner Kevin Folk, and he said, as far as Sam Howell, quote, "I've been very impressed. It's amazing that somehow a guy that people don't think gets it done, he gets it done," unquote. So Sam Howell's getting a lot of looks and appreciation from a lot of random people outside of the Commanders organization, beat writers, anything, like just national analysts, writers, all of these guys, NFL Network, ESPN. Sam Howell's starting to get recognized. I mean, when you're top 5 in passing yards, in top 10 in a lot of really good quarterback metrics and statistics, people are going to start to notice you. People are going to start looking at rankings and stats and be like, who is this guy? I need to start watching him. So now it's starting to show, and that game against the Eagles definitely helped put him on the map a little bit more. Now, moving on from that, some more thoughts that I have on the trades, and this is going to take up quite a bit of the video. It's probably going to actually be the longest portion of the video as far as segments goes. As far as Montez Sweat and the Chase Young trades, I feel like the Sweat trade, of course, yeah, we got great value in that, especially a high second-round pick potentially, even though Justin Fields looks like he's back healthy. I'm rooting for him. I love Justin Fields, even though he barely even played for Georgia at all. He's technically an Ohio State guy more than anything else. He is still from Metro Atlanta, so I'm always gonna root for Justin Fields, but at the same time, hey man, we want that pick to stay high, so I'm gonna need you to chill out. I ain't gonna lie, Bears, I'm gonna need y'all to go ahead and tank this season away, my boy. You got that Carolina Panthers pick. Don't you want to have as many high picks as you can? You know what I'm saying? Focus, lose for your first round pick and lose for our second round pick. Let's do this together, man. We can come together and work on these picks getting a little bit higher. But yeah, so Montez Sweat, I felt like that was a great trade, but the Chase Young one, I'm still feeling a little sick in my stomach for the fact that we only got a third rounder out of that. And I understand, I know he's been hurt and all of that type of stuff, but golly, man. And again, I'm not sure if I already talked about this in my previous videos, because again, I was reacting live. I may or may not have brought this up, but the Commanders, it's reported from a lot of trustworthy sources that they wanted to keep Montez Sweat over Chase Young. They were shopping Chase Young, but then they got calls about Montez Sweat, and the offer was just too good to pass up, basically. So that's how we ended up trading both of them away. So that basically, what I take from that is that maybe we aren't embracing the full rebuild. Maybe they wanted to get rid of Chase Young because they just didn't like him as much as Montez Sweat, even though he's clearly been better this season. So it has to be like off the field stuff, personality stuff, or I guess injury concerns, if anything, which is why his trade value is less than Montez Sweat. But because it can't be what they've done on the field this season. Chase Young has been far better than Montez Sweat easily. So that's just a really interesting situation. But yeah, I'm still a little sick to my stomach, the fact that we only got a third rounder for Chase Young, and it's a really ugly late third rounder. We'll see how that goes, man. But yeah, that also tells me again that the fact that they wanted to keep Montez Sweat and only trade, and then wanted to trade Chase Young, only traded Montez Sweat because there was just so much great value in return, is that it doesn't sound like they're fully embracing a rebuild or a tank, which also lets me know that they're actually really trying to win this Patriots game. I mean, first of all, the fact that we didn't get rid of like guys like Kendall Fuller or Curtis Samuel, Antonio Gibson, guys with expiring contracts. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. Other guys they could have traded away if you're trying to truly embrace a rebuild. So that just goes to show that, yeah, we happen to end up trading our two best edge rushers, our two best pass rushers, but that was only because of circumstance. It's not like we're just completely in fire sale mode, having a yard sale, just take anybody who you want. It felt like that by the fact that we traded both of those guys, but when you look at it through context, Again, it's not necessarily the case. Also, we're hearing reports that, quote, Young, according to several Commanders coaches and other organizational sources, was viewed as an undisciplined player who developed bad habits such as deviating from assignments in an effort to make splash plays, unquote. And hey, man, I'm not going to bad talk Chase Young now that he's no longer playing for the burgundy and gold. But you did see a little bit of examples like that. Now, I'm not sure if that was just because he was trying to make splash plays, auditioning for other teams. Like, look at me, I'm making plays. Forget the Commanders. I don't care what they're asking me to do. Look what I can do on my own and imagine what I can do for your team. It did look like he was doing that sometimes, but I'm not going to assume and say that he was. But there are reports coming from several sources that that's what he may have been doing. Now, I think it was just maybe coincidence, in my opinion, that sometimes it did look like he was doing that. We'll see how this goes, though. Also, I'm hearing reports that there was a talk with Chase Young's dad directly, and he said that Chase Young is considering retiring after his next contract is up due to long-term health concerns. And he also said that he never truly wanted to play in DC. His preference was to always get away from home. And hey, I understand that, man. I ain't gonna lie. If that's true and if that's coming from his dad and that's like a real thing, I understand. Again, I'm not gonna bad talk him. That's just really interesting. But also shouts out my boy Colin Dunphy, always presenting a lot of stats on Twitter. He said the Commanders didn't set out to help Sweat, but he is in a great position to get crazy paid, and I love that for him. And I completely agreed. Like, the Bears aren't the best team to get sent to if you want to win. And his preference was clearly Atlanta. He's from Atlanta, which is why I've always rooted for him. So he wanted to go back home, and Atlanta offered a third, but the Bears offered a second, and thank you, Commanders, for taking that second. It would have been nice if you could have given him where he wanted to go, but it's pretty much where he needed to go, and that's how it works. And on top of it, he got paid. So as of this morning, Montez Sweat agreed to a massive 4-year extension worth $98 million in new money, which is $24.5 million per season, getting $72.865, $360,000 guaranteed, man. Let's get it, man. I'm super excited. The total deal is worth $105 million. I'm super happy for him. But at the same time, I'm glad we didn't give that to him. I love Montez Sweat, but almost 25 a year for Montez Sweat, man. Myles Garrett, Max Crosby money. I don't know, man. Shouts out to the Bears. Again, I'm really happy for him, but at the same time, I'm very happy that we did not give that to him. And also, shouts out to Grant Paulson for bringing up this good point as well as far as the trade deadline goes. Sometimes the best trades are the ones that you don't make, because we offered 3 firsts for Russell Wilson. Thank goodness we avoided. Imagine having first round picks and Russell Wilson doing what he's doing right now. Sam Howell had a come from behind victory on that same Russell Wilson, and we drafted him in the 5th round. He's making pennies compared to Russell Wilson. We offered 3 firsts for Russell Wilson. We would use 1/5 on Sam Howell. That's crazy. Also, we tried to sign Jimmy Garoppolo, apparently. Thank goodness that didn't happen. I mean, I could have warned you about Jimmy Garoppolo. And then, so also moving on as far as the trades go, everybody's wondering, okay, who's our next edge rushers after we traded away Chase Young and Montez Sweat? People are like, who's the next pass rusher for the Commanders now? And then we got that picture of Anthony Anderson in the Redskin jersey. I ain't gonna lie, he looked like a defensive end in that. I think that's from Kangaroo Jack. I ain't gonna lie, man, looking a little bit like a defensive end. But at the same time, no, shouts out to Nick Kearns for bringing this up on Twitter 2 years ago, and I remember this, when the Commanders were without Chase Young and Montez Sweat for 6 games, they went 4-2. Hey, man, it's some of that deviating that report was talking about earlier. Montez Sweat doing his own thing, Chase Young doing his own thing. When Casey Hill, James Smith-Williams, and those other guys get in, it's a more of a cohesive defensive unit. Guys aren't going rogue and doing their own thing to make splash plays with that for whatever reason. I don't know if it's on purpose. I don't know if it's by accident. I don't know if it's a coincidence. But either way, when those guys were out, both of them at the same time, because usually Montez Sweat has been healthy and Chase Young's just been the one out for a long time. But the 6 games that those guys have been out at the same time, 4-2, and hey, there may be a reason for that. Now, there's a lot of factors that played into that, but hey, man, hey, I'm not gonna lie, we'll see how this goes moving on. I'm not saying Casey Tuhill, Jay Smith-Williams, F.L. Bada, KJ Henry, and Andre Jones, if he gets elevated and all of that. I'm not saying those guys are better than Chase Young and Montez Sweat, but don't be surprised if this defensive line, even if they don't look better, if they just don't look as bad as people expect. But at the same time, no, Montez Sweat 6.5 and Chase Young 5 have combined for 11.5 sacks and 48 pressures this season. So far, the most pressures by Commanders this season, Chase Young the most with 25, Montez Sweat the second most with 23. After that is Deron Payne with 12, Jonathan Allen with 9. So as far as getting pressures on the quarterback, we're looking ugly. But at the same time, Casey Toohill is ready to step up, man. Casey Toohill had the most sacks out of our entire defensive line against the Falcons. He had 2 in that one game. That was crazy, dog. Insane. And at the same time, look at these stats right here. Chase Young, 999 defensive snaps, 6.5 sacks to Casey Toohill, 817 defensive snaps with 6 sacks. These are over the last 3 seasons. Chase Young, more defensive snaps. Casey Toohill has more QB hits. Chase Young has 3 more tackles for losses, but Casey Toohill has 16 more combined tackles. Again, these are 182 less defensive snaps. And Casey Toohill is right there with Chase Young or doing better than him in the same stats. So Casey Toohill arguably more efficient. We'll see. Again, I'm not saying Casey Toohill is better than Chase Young or Montez Sweat, but those are very interesting stats there. Also, shouts out to Ron Rivera because we used the number 4 overall pick on Chase Young, a number 2 overall on Trent Williams, a number 2 overall pick on Chase Young, and somehow in return we got 2 third-rounders and a 5th rounder. Now, granted, the Trent Williams one was more so a Bruce Allen, Dan Snyder situation, but still. A number 4 and a number 2 overall pick, 2 top 4 first round picks, and in return you get 2 third rounders and a 5th rounder is terrible. But I blame Martin Mayhew for a lot of that as well. We put Ron Rivera's face on a lot of things. I feel like a lot of it needs to go on Martin Mayhew, dog. Also, shouts out to Al Galdi for this. Washington in the current offensive-oriented NFL, spending the first-round pick on a defensive player in 6 of the last 7 NFL drafts has been a failure. I mean, look at Emmanuel Forbes so far. I still believe in his talent for the future, but man, come on, dog. Josh Harris gets this. The pretending that mediocrity is progress is over, and the big picture thinking has begun. We do need to go more offense, dog, because it's not cutting it, man. Defense, you can do whatever you can, but it's only but so much you can do, man. It's an offensive league. Like I always say, great offense is always going to be great defense. The way that the NFL is set up right now is just how it is. Offense generates points generate views generate money, so the NFL is always going to side with the offense, and the rules and everything is literally set up to where offense will always beat defense, and equal offense will always beat an equal defense every time. Shouts out to Tan Top Podcast for pointing this out too. Josh Harris may actually just want to keep Ron Rivera until the end of the season because he wants to keep losing. Maybe Ron Rivera is so bad at coaching and Josh Harris is literally keeping him because he wants a higher draft pick. But Ron Rivera had a press conference, yesterday, and he answered 5 questions about Chase Young and Montez Sweat trades. And then the 6th question about the trades, Rivera had enough. He said, quote, "I'm through with it, okay? Just so you know, I'm ready to talk about New England. We're going forward onto New England. For me, the deals are done. There's not much more to rake over the coals." So I thought that was pretty funny. 5 questions in, he kept getting asked about Montez Sweat and Chase Young. Then the 6th question, he was like, "All right, y'all, come on now, chill out. We're done here." But again, like I spoke about earlier, I'm really surprised we didn't get anything for Jacoby Brissett, anything for Kendall Fuller. I'm just assuming that we plan on paying these guys and keeping them long term because, one of the main reasons we wanted to get rid of Chase Young, even if all of the off the field issues and attitude, personality, stuff like that weren't an issue, the thinking was we weren't going to be able to pay Chase Young the money that he's expecting, according to his agent or whatever, long term. And then we definitely weren't going to be able to give Montez Sweat that money long term. So if that's the case, and that's the only reason we traded these guys, then I understand why you keep these veterans. But at the same time, man, Curtis Samuel's contract is ending this season. Kendall Fuller, Jacoby Brissett, Cody Barton, Cornelius Lucas, Jeremy Reeves, F.A.O. Bada, David Bada, all of these guys, man. Antonio Gibson, Jamison Crowder, who's balling out, Joey Slye, right now technically our franchise kicker, Sadiq Charles, even though he's hurt right now, James Smith-Williams, Cameron Curl, even though I've heard reports that we want to keep Cameron Curl and we plan on prioritizing him as far as long-term contracts go. But Casey Toohill, who's technically being looked at as the next guy up now that Montez Sweat and Chase Young are gone. It's like we have all of these expiring contracts. Who are you prioritizing? I doubt we're going to pay all of these guys and have money available for this next coaching staff, this next front office, GM, and all of that to be able to spend money in free agency where they want to as well outside of the Commanders free agent. So it's just like you might as well have traded a few of these veterans away. I'm pretty sure Kendall Fuller doesn't want to take part of a rebuild. Curtis Samuel may not want to as well. You just never know, man. Antonio Gibson may want to go elsewhere where he's utilized more and not technically like the third running back in some games. Some games, Chris Rodriguez has gotten more carries than him. Of course, Brian Robinson has. They look at Brian Robinson as technically our feature back, kind of, even though it's kind of split up fairly evenly. So maybe you could have moved Antonio Gibson. We drafted him in the 3rd round. Maybe you could have got a third or a fourth rounder in return. I don't know. It depends on how much of a rebuild you're truly trying to get out of this. JP Finley brought up a good point as well. This is from Ian Rappaport. This is from Rap Sheet. Is the $6 billion question in Washington after yesterday's trades. Quote, I don't know if they need a quarterback. There's some people that think they don't. There's some people that think they do. If they do, the second rounder, the third rounder helps get you towards that, unquote. So, and I'm gonna do a whole video on this. How do y'all feel about Sam Howell? Do you think he's done enough already? And do you think we need to focus on rebuilding around him? Or do we, like Ian Rappaport said, that second rounder that we got from Montez Sweat, that third rounder we got from Chase Young, you package that together with the second and third rounders we already have and the first rounder that we have, you can move up. But that's also assuming that we win enough games to where we have to trade up. As of right now, we're in position that if we wanted to, maybe one of those quarterbacks falls in our lap. And then the way that this season is looking right now, if you can't beat the Bears or the Giants, who do we expect to beat on this schedule? We're probably going to end up with a top 5 pick anyway. Right now, we have the 10th pick in the draft, and I wouldn't be surprised if it gets higher and higher by the time this season goes on. So, again, regardless of having to trade up for a quarterback, even if we don't, say we end up with a top 5 pick because we just can't win games. Even when we wanted to win games on purpose, why would we suddenly be able to win games now after we lost a couple of our best players? So it's looking like the trajectory is showing that we'll probably end up with a top 10 pick anyway. But even if we didn't, even if we have a top 5 pick, would you want to just go ahead and use that pick to draft an elite tackle like a Olu Fashanu or Joe Alt, my boy Amarius Mims from Georgia? Would you want to take a quarterback? Again, I'm gonna do a whole video diving into why we should or shouldn't. But at the same time, the thing I mostly want you to take away from this, even no matter what side you are on this debate, Sam Howell and Eric Bieniemy have the rest of the season to prove themselves. And Sam Howell can change some minds. A guy like me that wants Sam Howell to be our franchise quarterback, maybe he goes the rest of the season and sucks, and then I come to the other side and I'm like, yeah, let's go ahead and get Caleb Williams, Drake May, or one of those other guys. Or for those of y'all who already want Caleb Williams or Drake May, maybe Sam Howell ends the rest of the season balling out, and then maybe he changes some of y'all minds, and it's like, all right, we have a franchise quarterback, let's just build around him. Let's use those we should have 5 top 40 picks in the draft, hopefully. That's what it's looking like, and you can use that to build around Sam Howell. Maybe you can package some of those picks together to trade up for an elite tackle or something, or 2 elite tackles. I don't know how you want to do it. Elite offensive linemen in general, a great linebacker potentially, some corner. I don't know. More receivers if you really want to go that route. It depends. I'm really interested in seeing how this ends up. But at the end of the day, one thing's for sure: Sam Howell and Eric Bieniemy are auditioning for the 2024 Commanders for the rest of this season, for the next coaching staff, the next front office. Josh Harris, who's already there, along with Magic Johnson, all of these guys. Now moving on to the development and evaluation part of this video. I hate the fact that Rivera has now finally decided that he wants to see what the young guys have. 4 years into this tenure, and now he's like, let's evaluate the young guys. What took so long, dog? What really took so long? But he did say, even Jack Del Rio said that he plans to play everyone on the defensive end, and said that he's excited to see KJ Henry, who was the unknown in live game action so far. So we're now on to the evaluation portion of this season. We're trying to win, I believe, again, for reasons I've already stated. I don't think they're in full rebuild, full tank mode. Try to get the highest draft pick you can get, but we are evaluating players again with the guys we've elevated from the practice squad. And also, Emmanuel Forbes posted on his Instagram and his stories yesterday, "I'm back," in all caps. So it sounds like he's already been let known that he's going to play more than he's been playing, because he got benched, then he didn't play one game, and then he's played 5 snaps each, I believe, the last couple of games. This may be the first game where he actually is even if he's not a technical starter, he plays a lot of the games, just like how he did before he got benched. And hey man, if there were a game to bring him back, even if this weren't a time to evaluate players, and again, this is why so many of our moves are so ambiguous and you don't know exactly what we're doing, just like with the trades of Montez Sweat and Chase Young. Are we tanking, or were those just circumstances to where it just made the most sense to get rid of them, even if you are trying to make it to the playoffs? Same thing with this. Are we in evaluation mode, or is this just a great matchup? Again, the Patriots probably have the worst receiving core we're gonna play all season, and at the very least the worst that we've played up to this point, that we'll play them tomorrow. So if there's a time to start Emmanuel Forbes and to get his confidence back, this matchup against the Patriots is the time to do that. You know what I'm saying? So that's really interesting. Still a very ambiguous situation. And again, Tariq Castro-Fields, Jabril Cox, Alex Akambulu, and Nolan Laufenberg were all elevated from the practice squad. So we're gonna evaluate those guys. I want to see more Quan Martin. I want to see more Percy Butler. It sucks that Ricky Strongberg got hurt, and it looks like he's probably going to be out for a while, because this is the time to go ahead and play him to see what he can do. I love the fact that my boy Chris Paul is finally starting at left guard. I hate the fact that it had to be Sadiq Charles getting hurt for it to happen, but you know what I'm saying. I'm really happy that Chris Paul's getting his chance. I want to see all the young guys out there getting opportunities. I want to see what Jamin Davis can do, play Khalid Hudson more. And again, I'm screaming, put Jabril Cox on the field at linebacker as much as possible. Please, I'm begging you. So I think it's that time, man. And also, moving on, is Bieniemy our next head coach? This is really interesting. Again, him and Sam Howell are auditioning for the remainder of this season for the 2024 Commanders. But this is a really interesting statistic, and I'm bringing this up during the Eric Bieniemy portion because it's like, is it time for Ron Rivera to go more than anything else? Because look at this rundown right here. Shouts out to Declassified WFT. First round picks in the Rivera era: Chase Young, Jamin Davis, Jahan Dotson, Emmanuel Forbes. Yeah. Second round picks, nobody in 2020, because again, before he got here, we used our 2020 second round pick to trade up to get Montez Sweat in 2019, so that wasn't Ron Rivera's fault. Samuel Cosme, who I believe in. Fadarian Mathis. Quan Martin starting to catch a little something. We'll see. Third round, Antonio Gibson. I like that pick a lot. I feel like he has a lot of talent, just got to stop fumbling. I feel like he's probably going to end up on another team balling out. I wouldn't be surprised. Benjamin St. Juste and De'Ami Brown. Benjamin St. Juste gets beat at times, but a solid corner for the third round. De'Ami Brown, hopefully we can figure out how to unlock him. Brian Robinson, great pick. Ricky Strongberg. I mean, even in that draft live, I was like, I feel like we could have got him in the 5th round. But, you know, hopefully he turns out to be a good player there. We'll see. And, of course, the first rounders, Chase Young, was looking great this season, but we traded him away. Didn't believe in him long term. Jamin Davis, when Cody Burton was out there, Jamin Davis was looking like maybe he wasn't a first-round pick, but he was looking the best he's looked so far since we drafted him. Jahan Dotson, terrible all season until this last game. And Emmanuel Forbes so far hasn't done much to give us a lot of confidence in him. Also, JP Finley brings up a good point too, and this is from Eric Bieniemy's press conference. One thing that stands out about Bieniemy's not celebrating small victories quote, and that's when Eric Bieniemy was talking to the team, to the press, to the beat writers and all of that. They had their press conference 2 days ago. His main point to take away from the whole thing was that we're not celebrating small victories and stuff like that. JP Finley goes on to say, across the NFL, some coordinators try to celebrate small stuff in an effort to become a head coach somewhere, make their resumes more impressive. Eric Bieniemy doesn't get down like that, for better or for worse, for better for us or for worse for himself. He's like, I don't care if we've improved in points scored a game or yards per game, third down efficiency. If we're not winning games, I don't care. I expect better from these guys. So again, that's great for us as fans and the team and stuff like that. But it may not be that great for him as far as building up his resume to become a head coach here or wherever else. And then also the Washington Commanders' reactions to the trades were funny, because Cameron Curl immediately said on his Instagram story, I don't want to talk to nobody. So maybe he was mad that he didn't get traded, which I don't think was the case, or he was upset that the Commanders players did get traded and he wanted us to do whatever we could to retain everybody. I don't know. Also, Jack Del Rio said, and he reiterated what Ron Rivera said the day before, that nobody foresaw what was going to happen as far as Chase Young. They were talking about his injuries. They didn't expect his career path to go this way. And they also just didn't expect the trades to turn out how they ended up going out. So, I mean, a lot of people were surprised. And then also, in the locker room interviews on November 2nd, a couple of days ago after the trades happened, Jonathan Allen and Antonio Gibson didn't seem too sad or upset about the fact that those guys were gone. Antonio Gibson said that he still hadn't even texted the guys, reached out to them to say congratulations or good luck. Like, these guys, did they just not like Chase Young or Montez Sweat or both? Or I don't know. That's really interesting, man. I'm really confused about this, while the players don't seem a little bit more like, man, I lost a brother. There was none of that. Everybody was just keeping it business as business, and like, we're moving on to the Patriots and stuff like that. And again, and then even just like from their body movement, their facial expressions, I don't know, they don't seem as sad as I would have thought they would have been at the situation, but who knows, man. And then you even have Commanders fans on Twitter and Instagram switching teams. Like, there's a whole well thought out paragraph about how, you know, despite being a fan of this team for 19 years, I'm taking my services to the Jaguars. All kinds of stuff. It's hilarious, man. The reactions to the trades have been all over the place. Of course, most of the national media feel like we got fleeced, especially on the Chase Young situation. They feel like the Montez Sweat was a good trade, but pretty much everybody else thinks we're a disaster for trading Chase Young for only a 3rd round pick, especially since he's been technically like a top 10 edge rusher this season. But you know, a lot of factors play into that beyond even just that. Also, before we get up out of here, Benjamin St-Juste is tied for 2nd in the NFL in the most interceptions and forced completions combined with 10. You have Darius Williams from the Jaguars, number 1 with 14. Then you have Deron Bland, who's been having a good season for the Cowboys, along with Paulson Adebo. I forgot about him. For the Saints, all 3 of them, including Benjamin St-Juste, are tied for 2nd with 10. Really interesting stat. So again, if there were a game for these corners to bounce back, Emmanuel Forbes to finally get starting level minutes and to truly like make an impact on the game, to gain his confidence back, Benjamin St-Juste to gain a little confidence back after what AJ Brown was doing to him, Kendall Fuller, all of these guys. This is the game, man. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinion video just like this one. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Of course, the preview against the Patriots. Do you feel like the Commanders are still trying to win? Or are we actually embracing the full rebuild and we need to prioritize evaluations more than actually winning games? Or are you just straight tank? Like, forget all of that. All I care about is not winning another game this season. How do you feel about all of that? Of course, how do you feel about the trades that went down with Chase Young and Montez Sweat after we get a deeper look into it? Do you feel like we should have went ahead and traded more veterans while we were at it to fully embrace the rebuild there as well? Do you feel like Ron Rivera's time has come and it's time for Eric Bieniemy to go? How do you feel about the Sam Howell situation? Are you ready? Are you full-blown, let's get Caleb Williams, Drake May, all of that stuff, or you build around Sam Howell? Again, I'm working on a whole video where I'm gonna dive into stats and everything for like 20 minutes on whether or not we should build around Sam Howell, all of that type of stuff, so stay tuned for that. And of course, again, if you appreciate all of this work and research and time, if you want to support the channel, because again, YouTube is tripping right now, you can support the channel by donating to $RicoScores, that's the Cash App, and WilliamAC94@gmail.com, that's the PayPal. All of that information is in the description of this video, every live stream, everywhere, every time. And I'm gonna appreciate y'all, man. I'm gonna catch y'all later. I'm out. Time to catch my Georgia game, man. Let's get it.